Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope everyone is doing well out there this morning and having yourselves a fantastic start to your Friday, a great ending to your week, beginning to your weekend. I got you some updated information on what's going to happen not only for your Friday, but we'll extend this throughout the entire weekend for most of the lower 48 for you guys to get you guys a good handle on what's going to happen weather-wise for your weekend so you can make plans and all those good things. We'll break everything down in detail, especially for you folks out west. I took the time this morning to pull up a lot of graphics from the National Weather Service that's going to show these town names, city names, mountain ranges, all those good things. So you guys could get a pretty good handle on the snow impacts, rain impacts, wind impacts. Of course, I'm going to miss some people. That's just how it is sometimes. These videos would go on for about 2 hours if I covered every single area with the same energy, the same detail. But of course, I think it's going to cover most of you folks pretty well. So definitely skip ahead. If you live out west, I got you a pretty good segment in this morning's video. We'll talk about everybody, though, in great detail, just like we always do. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Happy March to everybody. We've pretty much got through the winter months. Once it gets to March in my head, even though we still can get some pretty big winter storms in March, but in my head, once you get into March, I really start to shift to that spring mindset. But we got a lot of winter weather to talk about to kickstart our March, so we'll break it down for you folks. So let's get rocking and rolling. A lot of rain falling across the south, the mid-south, even a wintry mix across areas of like the kind of the central Mississippi Valley region. We might have a mix of kind of wintry precipitation falling around the St. Louis region. You guys have to let me know what you're seeing out there. Maybe a mix of sleet, rain, maybe a little snow mixed in. We even have some sleet being reported in the upstate of South Carolina, even though it's not being indicated in any kind of pink right in here, right in the upstate of South Carolina. Probably going to get a wintry mix in the higher elevations and favored regions of like the mountains of North Carolina, even all the way up into the mountains of Virginia and West Virginia throughout the coming hours. Maybe a little freezing rain, some sleet, maybe a little snow, but mainly just a little freezing rain and sleet. But we even got some precipitation about to head over to my house, so temperatures are in the 40s, but dew points are around 30, so I'm wondering if we're going to see some sleet here in the next hour. So I'm interested to see that because we haven't seen a lick of any kind of winter weather so far here in my neck of the woods in Columbia, South Carolina. It'd be wild to kickstart March with some sleet, considering the fact that we haven't seen any winter weather the entire winter and then turn around and see it March 1st. So, it's just how weather works sometimes. Northeast, pretty quiet. The middle of the country, it's pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot going on, but the western U.S., even though it looks very scattered about, a lot of these areas of moisture is pretty heavy. We're getting kind of burst of snow, very gusty winds as a cold front is sagging across most of the Rockies and just the western U.S. in general. Snow levels are really dropped because the colder temperatures have really worked into these valleys and certainly the higher elevations. So we're going to get very detailed for you folks out there. So that's what's going on right now. As far as the Storm Prediction Center, they never did update this to a marginal risk. I think we're just lacking thermodynamics. Just surface temperatures are very cool. So we could get, mixed in with all this heavy rain we're expecting in the south today, some rumbles of thunder, maybe some flashes of lightning. It's very possible. I'm definitely watching like kind of the low country of South Carolina as a low pressure will try to develop here and really throw back some really heavy precipitation into areas of the Carolinas. And guys, we can most certainly see some thunder snow. You see the green areas against the western sections of Washington State, Oregon, Northern California. As some of this convective feed basically works in off the Pacific. Some of this, like I said, will be convective in nature, which means we could have a clap of thunder, a flash of lightning. It's very possible. And if it is cold enough for this to be falling in the form of snow, certainly could be some thunder snow out there. I would not be surprised at all if we see that whatsoever. The threat of flooding, though, I'm kind of surprised there's not at least a marginal risk, but the threat of flooding is below 5% for today. We don't really have to worry about that. Now, that doesn't mean it's a 0% chance of it happening, but, you can pretty much say that it's a pretty low risk of flash flooding today. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Now, I do want to start east to west. And if I do sneeze in this video, I do apologize. I can already feel one coming as my face is starting to tingle. I feel much better, by the way. I feel 100%, just still dealing with some sneezes and clearing of throats and stuff like that. But some winter weather advisories are up for some of the higher elevations of West Virginia, North Carolina, where some freezing rain is expected, maybe a bit of a wintry mix. Not a big deal at all. everybody will warm above freezing in these areas. So if it starts off as a wintry mix, it won't last at all. Some dense fog is here in North Texas, southwest Oklahoma. Red flag warnings up where it continues to be pretty dry across areas of the plains. And then check out all the blizzard warnings. I don't know how common a blizzard warning is here in eastern Nevada. I don't think it's super common. I don't even think it's extremely common for blizzard warnings in the Sierra Nevada. I was actually watching a segment on the Weather Channel, which I don't watch much anymore, but I was just watching it yesterday, and they were saying in, I think, Truckee, California, they've only issued 9 blizzard warnings since like 2005, and this is one of them. So it's not super common, but of course it happens. But there is blizzard warnings in the Sierra Nevada than winter storm warnings, even in lower elevations. Like I believe Medford has a winter storm warning for a few inches of snow. So pretty wild, but it just really shows you once we get some cold air that works in, the snow levels drop to below 1,000 feet. And of course, even in some of the valley regions, some of these towns sit just high enough up, just a few hundred feet makes a big difference. It really does, especially out here. But some winter storm watches are up for the northwestern sections of the higher elevations of Colorado. High wind warnings are scattered everywhere in this mustard color. Salt Lake City's going to even get accumulating snow from this. Just a big event out west. It's ongoing right now. It'll really go downhill for areas of like California, Nevada, into Utah as we get deeper into the weekend. So let's talk about the southeast first. Rain out there. Like I said, could see a little bit of sleet. Do not be surprised. You're heading off to work in Greenville, Spartanburg, or Charlotte, even Columbia. If you're hearing some pinging on the windshield, that probably is sleet. That doesn't mean we got a full-fledged winter storm moving in. There's just some dry air in place. And typically we get what we call evaporative cooling, which means even temperatures. I mean, Arkansas, you guys had sleet at around 50, 51 degrees yesterday. It just happens when you have a lot of cold air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And until that erodes and the upper areas of the atmosphere really warms up, you can get sleet at very warm temperatures at the surface. It happens. There's nothing unusual about that at all. It really isn't. But we're getting into this morning, and then we take it all the way to about midday. It's raining, not only raining, but raining pretty heavily down here along the Gulf coastline, western panhandle of Texas. I mean, just southern Alabama. Even we'll probably have a chance for some thunderstorms around like southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, the panhandle of Florida. And then we continue to work our way into the afternoon hours, just a widespread cold rain across the Carolinas, even some rainy conditions around Dothan, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, down here in South Georgia. A lot of rain will probably fall and just more scattered about across the Appalachian Mountains. And this will continue, and we take it all the way into the late evening hours. I think this begins to clear out for most of Georgia. Starts to clear out for South Carolina. Some leftover shower activity back here in Tennessee, northern Alabama. Later this evening, still raining pretty good across most of North Carolina. Starting to clear out in the Piedmont, raining pretty much everywhere in Virginia into the wee hours in the morning. Then we're waking up tomorrow morning, and I think we'll remain pretty cloudy across the southeast. Now we're going to continue to see a chance of not only rain, but some thunderstorms in areas of Florida, really just the peninsula of Florida. But we can certainly see it in the Panhandle too in South Georgia, as you can tell here. And then we continue to make our way into tomorrow evening, still getting a lot of rain down here in Florida. But just more, like I said, we could get some storms down here in Florida tomorrow for sure. Once you start to get into March in Florida, I mean, it's pretty much you got a full all out course to summer at this point. You get into March, it just starts to warm up dramatically in Florida, but you can still get pretty chilly. And then we take it all the way out to the middle of the night, Saturday night. And, still some showers scattered about. Rainfall between now and Saturday evening, a few inches of rain. Some of this is already falling right now, but it's going to get quite heady. It's going to get quite heavy later on today. But between now and the next around 36 hours, you're certainly going to get a lot of rain down here near Gulfport, Mobile, Alabama, the western panhandle of Florida. A lot of rain down here in southeast Louisiana for sure. So go on and expect that. Then we move into the Carolinas. Between now, let's go on and just take this out to Sunday morning. And definitely washout. Here in my neck of the woods, expecting over an inch of rain. North Carolina, everybody's at least good for about a half an inch of rain. Some areas might not get quite that much, but the closer you are against the coastline of the Carolinas and Virginia up here into the southern Delmarva region, between now and the rest, basically between now and Sunday morning, a good 1 to 2 inches of rain. So a good bit coming and on the way for sure. Some of these areas will get a little icing this morning. The purple regions, which are the higher elevated areas of the mountains of North Carolina, have winter weather advisories, and this is really driven off the fact that you'll get a little bit of light ice accumulations in some of these favorite areas. And we're talking about below a tenth of an inch. I'm talking about like a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice. You'll barely see it on anything, but it might be just enough to put a light glaze on certain areas. So we'll watch out for that. So we move up into the northeast. Pretty quiet start to your Friday morning. Will remain quiet throughout the afternoon. We'll start to see a little bit of a wintry mix in these higher elevations of West Virginia. Maybe a little icing, a little bit of snow sleet mix. Scattered rain showers will start to take over most of the state of Ohio, West Virginia, areas of Kentucky throughout the evening hours. By the time we are getting all the way into our Saturday morning, rain's pretty much taken over most of Pennsylvania, all of Maryland. It's still raining pretty good in the central and eastern half of Virginia. Rain's taken over the Delmarva region. And by the time we start to get into about midday Saturday, rain starting to move into New York City, taking over all of New Jersey. And then this rain, pretty light in nature, but still just a steady, light, annoying rain if you got any outdoor activities, taking over most of the I-95 corridor, I would say. And, there's not really a whole lot of cold air in place, so all this is rain. So by the time you take it all the way out to about the middle of the night, Saturday night, it could pick up in intensity as a low pressure starts to move up. You could get some heavier rain in New York City overnight Saturday night, and then still raining in Boston. Just pesky showers throughout the Northeast for sure. So rainfall we'll kind of move it and progress it between this evening all the way through pretty much the weekend. And as you can tell, the chances of rain increase all the way up the I-95 corridor. And we take it all the way out to pretty much Sunday evening. And, nothing too crazy, nothing to worry about flooding, but just kind of annoying amounts of rain, if you will. The further you move northwest into the interior section of the Northeast, the less rain that you will see. But most of all, this is going to be rain. 99% of this will be rain. Not even in the higher elevations will be really any snow unless you're like way up there. You might get a dusting of snow. So this is about how much rain you're expecting. It's about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in southern New England. Good bit of rain in the Delmarva, probably a good 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain. So moving into the south central U.S. now, we just got done. Well, we're still dealing with it. We're still dealing with the wildfires in the panhandle of Texas. Turns out that wildfire was the largest wildfire in Texas history, I believe is what I heard. So it devastated the town of Canadian. I was listening to some stories from people locally that were affected by this, and was just terrible, talking about how it pretty much surrounded them in all directions. And that's just got to be terrible. So we're certainly praying for you folks out in Texas and everybody affected by these wildfires. And unfortunately, there's no rain really forecasted. If I can get this in motion for us here. We start off this afternoon. Most of this moisture begins to head on off. And then we start to get into tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Not a whole lot going on. All the way into about the middle of the night, Saturday night. Some snow is starting to enter the Rockies, but pretty quiet weather. We need basically a washout in this area. I saw where a little bit of rain was falling in the panhandle of Texas, I believe, yesterday, so that was good. So it's not completely dry, but still we need rain when there's a wildfire. So the north central U.S., a little bit of a wintry mix possible around the St. Louis area, but I think most of this rain will be very light and it'll warm up. Could deal with a wintry mix, maybe in areas of central Illinois through about midday, but it's not going to be much of anything. And then that same rain that we just talked about for the Northeast will continue to overspread the Ohio Valley. Rain will be falling across Ohio throughout the evening. Some rain will make it all the way up to Cleveland, Detroit, lower Michigan. And by the time we are getting into tomorrow morning, most of this will head on off. And then we start to see some freezing rain and a wintry mix and even some snow that will begin to develop Saturday morning across areas of North Dakota. Not a whole lot for South Dakota, but this will be a solid wintry mix up here for the northern counties of North Dakota as a weaker low pressure kind of flies through. And then we start to get into tomorrow evening, and then another system could start to develop could bring some more wintry weather in this area. We have to watch for that. But between now and Monday morning, they are calling for several inches of snow in the northern counties of North Dakota, even a couple inches of snow in the central counties of North Dakota. Maybe a little bit of light accumulations for the western counties of South Dakota, but not expecting much down here. A little bit more of a kind of a zoomed in look at this. Minot going from 1 to 5 inches of snow. I think that's pronounced Bottineau, 1 to 5 inches of snow. Crosby 2 to 6. So you really got to get tucked into the Canadian border or close to the Canadian border to really see any appreciable accumulations. And there is a chance for a little bit of ice in this setup, but not much at all. I'll pull up a graphic right in here. Devil's Lake, a 1/13 of an inch of ice. So, once you start to get over 1/10 of an inch of ice and you mix that with a little bit of snow, you definitely need to watch out for travel being impacted and those things like that. So the Northwest, we'll kind of section this off. We'll look at the Northwest first, and then we'll look at the Southwest. So we'll start this off this morning, and I'm just going to kind of run through this. But the common theme here is just waves of scattered heavy precipitation, whether that's rain or snow. I think most of it will be snow, depending on where you are. But, you start to get until about midday. Look at this heavy snow making its way into Northern California. It starts to snow pretty heavily in the Sierra Nevada. We'll talk more of that here in a second. And then check it out. You get a secondary cold front that kind of moves through, lowers basically those snow levels even further throughout the weekend. Some snow flying around across Idaho, starting to move into northwestern sections of Wyoming, western Montana. But look at all this snow flying around. And as you can tell, even the valley regions are seeing some snow in Oregon. And just waves of moisture. You see how they're just kind of scattered about, and nothing like really consolidated. But if you look right here, this is our next cold front that kind of sweeps through. This helps to lower those snow levels, basically bring more cold air in, allowing for those lower snow levels as we are getting after midnight tonight. And it's moving across California, Nevada, Idaho, the northern Rockies, and this kind of just continues. This is a pretty stout cold front, heads all the way to northern Utah. And you got a lot of moisture associated with it, probably a snow squall basically associated with this cold front that moves through Salt Lake City sometime tomorrow. There's going to be some wild weather in Salt Lake City. This makes it all the way to Wyoming tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And then after that, you just get scattered heavy bursts of snow throughout the Northwest, as you can tell. And then we take it let's just take it all the way to about late Saturday evening. You continue to get this feed of moisture in the form of where it's cold enough snow, where it's not cold enough, obviously, rain. But you can see it calms down a little bit more in this region as we get kind of later into the weekend. Now, you look at the Southwest, things go downhill dramatically later on this afternoon. These are almost look like thunderstorms, but then they go up into the mountains and then turn into very, very heavy snow. Folks, we're talking about several inch per hour rates at times in the Sierra Nevada. Pretty wild stuff. Look at this line of thunderstorms making it into the Northern California coastline. And then the snow levels drop as that cold front moves through. You can see the cold front right into here with a lot of moisture associated with it. And you can see all of a sudden it's snowing. You're starting to see more blue than green on the map in California. And then this continues, guys, snowing pretty heavily in the Sierra Nevada. In Nevada, take it all the way. You just continue. And look at all that snow flying around in Salt Lake City. Man, they could get several inches of snow. And this continues, folks. And even if I was to keep this going, this is as far out as I'll go on the HRRR model, you still continue to get rounds of snow throughout Nevada. Starting to get all the way into Colorado where you have winter storm watches ahead of what's going to happen later this weekend. But you continue to get this just on and off convective feed of moisture into the colder air. So kind of a broad look at how much snow to expect. This is what it looks like. Keep in mind, this is a very, very broad look. But in general, this is between now and Sunday evening, and you get the general idea, folks. A lot of snow is going to fly across the Rockies, the Cascades, and the Sierra Nevada. So we zoom into some of these graphics. National Weather Service out of Washington, this covers the Spokane area, and they just basically say possible heavy snow showers Friday. Areas most likely to experience impacts in this pink kind of dotted outline area right here. Read these graphics. I'm not going to spend too long on these guys. It took me a long time to pull these up, but just freeze the screen if you need to, folks. This covers, make sure I got this right. This covers areas of Idaho. So You got Idaho Falls right in here, 4 to 6 inches of snow. Blackfoot, 3 to 4 inches. This is a really great graphic. It's pretty clear. Hopefully it covers your area if you're tuning in from this. Old Faithful, 18 to 24 inches of snow. Some of these valley regions could get some snow also. Okay, areas that don't typically get as much snow. And then we take a look at kind of the Boise, Idaho region. And there's those higher elevations of the Rockies right here that will get a lot of snow. Now, this is just this is pretty much a duration of the event. Between now and 5 a.m. local time Monday, this is how much snow is expected. Even in some of those valley regions, you could get a little bit of snow. Not a whole lot, but a little bit of snow. Continue to move forward here. This is in Wyoming, Riverton, Wyoming. And this covers, Yellowstone National Park. This is just between now and 11 p.m. Mountain Time Saturday. So you could still be getting snow. Old Faithful, 16 to 25 inches of snow. Moran, 13 to 19 inches. Jackson, 14 to 20. So a big, heavy snowstorm expected for these regions. And then you take it to the Portland area. Now, Portland only has it between now and 4 a.m. tomorrow, local time. So I don't know why they don't have an extended version of this, but this is how much snow to expect between now and 4 a.m. You guys' time out here in this region. So you notice the coastal range is going to get some snow for sure. Then you look at the National Weather Service out of Pendleton. I think that's how you pronounce it, Pendleton, Oregon. This is kind of those lower elevated regions. Not a whole lot expected in these areas, but hopefully it'll show your area in this screen. National Weather Service, I believe this is Medford. Yep. Medford going for 2 to 3 inches of snow. Come on, let's get this right. 2 to 3 inches of snow right in here. Grants Pass, 2 to 3 inches of snow. And then look at some of these areas in Northern California. A lot of snow. Hopefully it shows your area on the screen. But man, look at those higher snowfall totals, even closer up against the mountains. The ocean, right in here, the Pacific Ocean. So, and then check out Reno. Finally found a really good graph of the Sierra Nevada. It turns out it was Reno the entire time. But 6 to 8 inches of snow in Reno. It was in the 50s yesterday. But check out some of these totals, guys. Truckee, this is between now and 10 a.m. Sunday. So this isn't the entire duration of the event, guys. But 48 to 60 inches of snow in Truckee. Carson, 8 to 12. The South Lake region, the Tahoe region, basically a few feet of snow. Blue Canyon, folks, 96 inches plus of snow. So hopefully it shows your area if you're looking for it right in here. And you continue to move this forward, and this is kind of the southern extension of the Sierra Nevada. Yosemite Valley between now and 4 a.m. Monday, 45 to 77 inches of snow. Lodgepole, anywhere from a crisp 58 to 98 inches of snow. I mean, I would take 1 inch if we could borrow it here in central South Carolina. But anyways, that's just incredible amounts of snow here. And then I want to show you from my friend here in Las Vegas, the potential wind gusts tomorrow, like in southern Nevada and areas of California, it's going to be whipping in these areas. Very, very strong winds in areas of southern Nevada. So please be aware of this. And there is a blizzard warning above 5,000 feet just north of well north of the Las Vegas region. So we continue to move this forward. I will show you the National Weather Service. I believe this is out of LA. Shows a graphic, how much rain to expect kind of in these regions right in here. It talks about winds also. So I wanted to show you that. And then we look at a graphic out in the National Weather Service out of San Diego. Peak wind gusts this weekend. Nothing too crazy, along those lower elevations. But once you get into those mountains of Southern California, 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. Precipitation, not a whole lot in San Diego, 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of rain throughout the weekend. But you could get more in certain areas. Weekend snowfall. Got to get way on up there. So, and then Salt Lake City, over 4 inches of snow is forecast between now and the duration of this event. Typically y'all don't get as much snow, but you guys, it's going to get cold enough where you guys get some March snow out here. And then, of course, the higher mountains of the higher elevated regions of Utah is going to get more. But there's a couple areas that you could check out right here. And then you look at winds, guys. Very windy conditions between now and the weekend. I mean, scattered 60 to 70. Some areas could get 80 mile per hour wind gusts depending on how high you live up in these areas. Please take this serious, guys. Rockies, just in general, very strong winds will eventually move into the Front Range and just more into areas of the Central Rockies and kind of the Eastern Rockies right into here. So temperatures, huge pocket of cold air right in here just because of cloud cover and rain. But where you don't have the rain and cloud cover, it warms well up into the 60s and 70s right in here. So nice weather expected in these regions of the high plains. Florida will be pretty nice today. There'll be a pretty stout temperature gradient in South Georgia compared to North Georgia. One area of Georgia will be in the 40s. South Georgia might make it into the 80s. Look how warm the air is getting. It was very cold at the beginning of the week. Now you're back into the 60s and 70s, all the way up into South Dakota. Pretty wild stuff. So sorry I had to zoom through that pretty quick, guys. I'm running out of time. But God bless all y'all. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you again soon.